This is exactly what I've been waiting for. This is exactly.
Hold up.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no.
So Nightreign 3 months later, let's talk about it. So now that I've tackled all the bosses on PC, I've tackled them on PS5. We've now seen all the bosses and their enhanced versions except for the night aspect. So now that the nostalgia is gone, I'm going to basically go through kind of the negative aspects and the things that I think that they have changed some, and there's still some things that need to be improved and need to change to increase the player retention and to increase the enjoyment out of this game. So at this point, I'm obviously not going to talk about how the game functions. You would know how the game functions if you've seen other reviews or if you've actually played the game. So I think the first thing we can get right off the bat is the multiplayer functionality. I think it's no secret that they have struggled in this area of their development because previously this has never been the focus. Unless we're talking about PvP, their focus has always been story-rich, single-player, lore-rich environment. This is their first ambitious game where multiplayer is the focus. Working with other people is the focus. And some of the functionality is just missing, especially since the beginning of the game. But even now, right, we still don't have any type of communication. I know a lot of people don't want to talk to randoms, but there really should be some sort of communication beyond just pinging. So voice chat should absolutely have been in the game from the start. Other thing is no crossplay, and this is something that I don't think they will ever add to the game. But in 2025, it's simply baffling to not have that as a feature because every single game that comes out allow for cross-play, cross-progression even, and it's just crazy that that is not in the game. Now, of course, they have added a duos mode, which is something that they have even admitted should have been in the game in the first place. And that came kind of bafflingly late for a system that basically just scales down when somebody leaves. Like, the functionality of duos was in the game for quite a while. I know at the very beginning, the scale down function wasn't in there, but later when we play with third random and they would leave, it would scale down. So the functionality was built into the game even before duos was added. So it's kind of interesting that they didn't add duos. But like I said, duos is added now, but this is just limiting factors for your audience, right? Not having crossplay, not having the options to maybe even 4 players. I don't know why they chose 3 players. I'm not a developer over there, so I don't know if maybe having a 4th player would affect the flow of gameplay in a negative way. It doesn't seem like it would if you just added more poise to enemies, added more health. But, you know, these things ultimately add a limiting factor of your audience. Because unless you enjoy Nightreign solo, you might not want to play if you have, you know, friends over on Xbox that would love to play Nightreign with you, but you just can't, right? Or PC or PS5, whatever. Again, this is kind of like a test. I hope this gives them a full picture of, you know, next installments or whatever they choose to do. Their next game, if it's going to be some sort of multiplayer, if they can improve on this formula and have duos from the start, maybe have 4 players, have cross progression, crossplay, all these things that should have been built into the game that either was added later or was just never added. So the other thing that I think really needs to be changed, and something that they can change, is the seed generation. It's not really best to describe it as seeds because it's not generating a seed. It's a set amount of worlds that you will play on. So for those of you who don't know, every boss or expedition that you would go on has 40 seeds. Now you'd say, oh, 40 seeds, that's a lot. Also, Everdark Sovereigns have these same 40 seeds as their regular versions. So you would think to yourself, 1 out of 40, you shouldn't see the same map 2 times in a row, 3 times in a row. Well, that would kind of be the case, except for now, with the introduction of Everdark Sovereigns and the new merchant, you can pick your Shifting Earth event. 20 of those seeds are for the base Limb Veil. There are 4 Shifting Earth events, so if you take 20 divided by 4, you're going to get 5 per Shifting Earth event. So here's, of course, the issue. If you like a certain Shifting Earth event, and let's say you're fighting a particular boss, you're struggling with him, or you just want to continue to fight him, and you really like to go to the crater, for example, you're only picking from a pool of 5, not only severely limiting the RNG factor of your runs, but it's also increasing your chances of getting the same seed in a row, sometimes 3 times in a row. I have absolutely experienced this. If I'm going and I'm farming Everdark Sovereign points, I'm farming the same boss, or maybe I'm struggling with a boss, and I like to do, either the Shrouded City or I like to do the Crater, I'm only getting 5 potential seeds that could possibly be for those Shifting Earth events. This severely hurts the aspect of replayability. To get the same bosses in the same locations, the same camps, everything is the same. To do it 2 times, even 3 times in a row is just, it really sucks the fun out of it. And it may be beneficial to have the exact same seed and know exactly where the circle is going to come in, where to go. Maybe you improve on the routing that you did the last game, but it just really hurts that replayability if I'm fighting the same things I just fought. This is not to mention that a lot of the seeds kind of feel the same. For example, we were playing on PC, and when we beat the night aspect, we then tackled the enhanced augur. And it literally felt like we were on the exact same seed. But since we were on a different expedition, I could only assume it was a different seed, but just eerily similar to the one we just played on. So as you can see, it is different, but not by much. Like, the whole right side is basically the same. Even the Nightfarer camp is in the same location. Like, yes, it's different, but really doesn't feel that way when you're playing it. So there's a couple ways to fix this. One way to fix it is obviously to add more seeds. The issue is that you can fall into like a saturation situation, bars. Essentially, you're adding seeds to a Shifting Earth, or adding seeds to an expedition, and maybe you're changing around boss locations, but it's out of the pool of assets that you already have. So you're adding more seeds from the same pool of assets. It would feel all the same, just again, different locations, frequency, and patterns. But like we experienced between expeditions, it still kind of just felt the same. So I think one is adding more bosses from Elden Ring, even looking into the DLC. I mean, we've talked about this, but if you add more variety, then it's also going to help the seeds that are already there, right? Because you could have seeds that only have bosses for some seeds, and then unique bosses for other seeds. And there are some enemies, even in the base game of Elden Ring, that you just don't see in Nightreign, which is interesting. And then even down to the Shifting Earth events, it seems like when I go to the Crater, for example, there will always be set bosses in these locations. I think Elden Ring has enough variety where if I pick the Crater, for example, there should be an RNG calculation for even those enemies, even the ones that, there's the Fire Priests, there's the Chariots. Why not have different things there too, just to increase the replayability? Like I said, now it's like every time I go down to the Crater, I know exactly who I'm going to fight. I know exactly where the Chariots are. I know exactly that I'm going to have to fight the big magma dude at the very bottom. Like, all of those things are a set thing because I picked my Shifting Earth event, and then there's a high chance that I get the same seed I got on before, Another fix you can do is, why do we have to have a set 40 per expedition? So that means, because there are 8 bosses, that's 320 seeds. Why don't you just randomly jumble them, and then you're just basically increasing the pool so that you really never get the same seed. I don't know why it needs to be limited to 5, per expedition. It could be any seed, regardless of the expedition that you're going on, then you would almost never get the same seed twice. But if there is some limiting factor that I'm not thinking of, where there needs to be some sort of set seed, then how about we do something like this? So I, of course, won't go on a COD Zombies rant like I like to, but COD Zombies has a very good feature for power-ups. So if you've ever played, you are familiar with power-ups. There are 5 base game power-ups, right? Insta-kill, max ammo, carpenter, nuke, and double points. The other 2, like fire sale, death machine, those are special. Those are not necessarily in the rotation. But if you were to start up a game of zombies and you got, let's say, a max ammo off the start, you will not get another max ammo until you run through all the rest of the power-ups. So you hit a max ammo, now there's a 1/4 chance of getting something else. And then let's say it's double points. Now you have a 1/3 chance of getting something other than max ammo and double points. Now, you might have played the game and say, well, hold on, I've gotten 2 of the same power-up before. Yes, because that's the end of a cycle and start of a new cycle. So let's say the last thing that you get is a nuke, and you kill a zombie and there's another nuke that spawns. Well, there was a 1/5 chance, because the cycle started over, that a nuke would spawn in. So again, not going to turn this into a zombies video, but that could be the idea for seeds. If me and my team has played a seed before, it eliminates that from the pool when we queue up for the same expedition. And if you're going to go play with randoms, it could be a multifaceted analysis that the game can do where, okay, he played on seed 2, he played on seed 3, so let's pick seed 4. This way you would never get the same seed twice, and especially not 3 times in a row. So this partially fixes the problem because ultimately adding more assets of what you can pull from and what you can place into these seeds would be the best route to take. You would think that this is Nightraign's strong suit over Elden Ring or any other Souls game since everything is fixed in those games. The enemies, the weapons, they're all in set locations. What's good about Nightraign is the unpredictability, that randomness. That's why I would think that'd be something that they would nail, and in my opinion, they just kind of fall short with this. Like, it's decent, but once you see a couple different variations of each Shifting Earth event, you've kind of seen them all. So I really hope they work on this in the future. My next problem is Everdark Sovereign rotations. So I really do not like this feature where there's like the boss of the week. So as more Everdark Sovereigns have been introduced, it seems to be that they are setting up 2 Everdark Sovereigns for you to fight, one from a previous week and then one for, whatever the boss is of the week. And then when the new boss comes in, they will take those 2 away, and then you'll fight the new boss plus a different one from a prior week. I understand why they're doing this. This provides a type of urgency. Oh, we need to return to Nightraign. They're only going to be here for a certain amount of time. But the issue that I have with this is that what if you're going on vacation? Right? What if you got work, you got school, whatever, and you just simply cannot get on for that week? Or what if you really struggle with bosses like Libra, where you just simply, with life cannot beat the boss in time? I shouldn't have a content limit because I have real world obligations. Because now you have to wait any number of weeks for Libra to come back. There's a lot of people who weren't able to beat Libra in the time frame of a week, and now they have to wait a certain amount of time for him to come back. I think what you're going to find is more people are just going to lose interest and just move on to other games, versus if you had it just available, so you had a side-by-side, right? Here are all the regular bosses, here are the Everdark Sovereign bosses, then they can beat them at their leisure and not have this time event. Now, I understand why they're doing it, but I think a better strategy would be, okay, so let's say this is the Libra week, right? Allow almost like a double XP, if you will, some sort of reward for people who beat the boss within a certain time frame. So let's say you beat Libra within the week that he comes out, you get extra Shifting Earth points, whatever that currency is called. Providing an incentive for people to beat the current boss of the week without penalizing people for not being able to beat them or having real world obligations where they couldn't beat them. I think the last gripe that I have for Nightraign, and this is kind of more of a broad mechanic, is I would like to see them do a little bit more experimenting. I think sometimes they play it safe. So you don't see new bosses being added besides the Everdark Sovereigns, which kind of already coded into the game. They just weren't unlocked. I would like them to do some experiments and see what works and see what doesn't work. I don't think there's a problem with trying something and then having it be game breaking and then having them go back and patching it. Some of those game breaking things can be very, very enjoyable. Like, for example, the Grafted and the Executioner Sword. They haven't patched that. I don't think that they should patch that because in a roguelite structure, you don't get to keep weapons like you do in Elden Ring or a single player or an ARPG. Those are weapons that you get for the run, and then when you complete the run, you lose them. So it can be kind of enjoyable where you have a low chance of getting something like the Executioner Sword and then getting it and then maybe getting the Spider boss and farming that for an hour if that's what you choose to do, right? And then you can one-shot the boss, then that's kind of fun, right? That's an aspect of being overpowered that can be kind of enjoyable. It's not a permanent thing. The next run, they're probably not going to find the Executioner Sword, I think something like the Relics system, for example, I think it's good, and I like the buffs that it provides, but a thing that I would like to see, what if it changed some of the base mechanic? Like, what if it's something on Wilder, he gets kind of that death switch, second chance, whatever it's called. But now he goes into an enraged mode where basically he gets a crazy amount of increased attack power for a couple seconds or something. Kind of encouraging you to play ultra aggressive even though you almost just went down, you know. Or what about Revenant, where you could switch out maybe a summon? Maybe have a summon that strictly heals you or buffs you or something, but they don't necessarily attack the enemies. Having relics that fit not only the character, but also your playstyle. Again, every new mechanic you're going to add, I'm sure there's going to be game-breaking things, but wouldn't it be nicer for them to experiment with some of these things and see what works and see what doesn't work and see where the exploits are and then fix it from there, than to just be ultra-conservative and not see some what could be very fun mechanics within the game. Like I said before, I like Nightreign. I think making some of these changes can really improve its replayability, really improve player retention. And I would like to see them be kind of more free to test things out, try things out, and let the community really try it and see what works, see what doesn't work. I don't think there's any problem with doing something and just seeing, is it going to break the game? Because you might just be able to find something that everyone enjoys. You might be able to find that mechanic that actually really improves the game. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts, having about 3 months since the game has released. You know, I've played through the bosses, I've seen almost every single seed at this point now. Things that I would like to see them improve on in the future, things that they can change right now, and things that might need to be improved on the next installment of whatever, you know, this is going to lead to. But that's it. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And as always, have a good one.